Hello
Yes,
and welcome everyone to this session of our Charlie Mike series. We're back with John Hale from the Cornerstone Group, and we are on number 4, right, John? So our number
yes, we
4
are.
presentation
Yeah.
of our series on capital. We're so excited to see what you have in store for us today. And with that, I am going to kind of turn it over to you so you can jump right in and give us all of these wonderful pearls of wisdom on all things capital related.
Well, thank you, Marie. And again, I want to thank you to the National Veteran Small Business Coalition for this opportunity to work with us. We're excited to be here and did not want this opportunity to pass without thanking our men and women of the United States Armed Services for your service to our great country. Again, thank you very much, and we greatly appreciate it. Yeah, so we're on session number 4. We're just moving right along, really focused on empowering CEOs to grow and scale your businesses. So today in number 4, we are going to focus on revenue. So we've gone through all the 5. So we want to just quickly have a recap. Number 1 was capital partner preparedness. Number 2 was access to capital. Number 3 was partnerships. And so today we're going to talk about revenue, focused on some tidbits of advice about growing your revenue, but really focus on the quality of your revenue today. And as we get started, just a quick recap on leveraging strategic partnerships. Again, this is important in the aspect of growing your revenue in your company. So here are several good business reasons that we see that companies take advantage of strategic partnerships, be they joint ventures, licensing agreements, white paper, white labeling someone's technology, products, or services. But here's a couple reasons that we see businesses take advantage of to grow their business. Number 1, technology, access to technology. You can create it yourself, or you can buy it off the shelf. You can white label it, or you can partner with another company. Expansion to new markets. So here we're talking about geographic, and think about the world market as well. A joke I heard one time, Marie, it's called the World Wide Web for a reason. If you have an internet, you have a global business, or at least a global platform for a business. So think about exporting, think about customers around the world that could use your products and services. Number 3 is find a firm that complements what you offer in terms of product or service. So therefore, you can offer a turnkey solution to customers, and particularly, this should be a stretch where you're going after customers that neither of you could get um, without the other party. That way, you are equally yoked, as we like to say. And the last one is technical personnel. In today's environment and the business that you have, you may need to partner with just to get some technical people that could set you apart from your competition. So a little bit of going back to last session, but definitely we think about the quality of your revenue. One way to increase that is strategic partnerships. And a couple of best practices, we're going to talk about quality of revenue. Here we're going to talk about business development. In the next slide, we're going to talk about capture management. We understand what this is in the federal space, but here we're going to focus on some of the top best practices that we use. We use with our clients. And I was the Energy Department Osmo director, and at the SBA that I saw other firms use. So number 1, business development. Have a streamlined process. Leverage technology, leverage tools, but also with many companies, we can become siloed from the um, from the project management team to the proposal writers, business development, etc. Even we would call quote unquote the back office, the CFO, etc. Make sure you have a cross-functional team and everyone is involved and engaged in business development and know their role. And more importantly, the business development um, personnel and executives are attuned to the needs of the company and also what hinders us, because we can't do all things for everybody. Sometimes we have a budget. Number 2, no substitute for thorough market research. And not only the systems and tools that are out there, I think there's a cottage industry for sure in federal government contracting. Everyone has a platform or a database to track all the information that's out there, but do thorough market research, ask the right questions, and again, look at state and local contract opportunities, how you apply, and look at quasi-governmental. We think about the energy sector, particularly utilities, hospitals that have some type of tissue and relatedness to the government. Number 3, there's no substitute for quality. You have to have a quality process and a quality product as well. This helps create a superior reputation in the market, um, develop team members and alliances with other firms and companies, and not just because it's your own self-interest, Marie, but really come to the table and think about, if I'm going to partner with Marie for an opportunity, what is a win for Marie? How do I make Marie as an individual look good, and what's a win for her company? That's a true alliance, and that's how people will truly want to work with you. And part of your revenue funnel, you'll be amazed, you'll get pulled into deals and opportunities, many of which may not even be public yet, which is beautiful. Either someone's got to set aside, or this is coming up a year from now, and you're involved early. And the beauty is you get to help craft source of salt, RFI, etc. So guess who's in the best position to win? So always take care of other people. Stay current. New developments, changes are always happening. Federal government contract, into acquisition strategy, schedules, and most importantly, when I talk about human market intelligence here, Maria's, we have relationships and points of contact. But guess what happens? They move to other agencies, they move to other careers, or maybe they just retire and don't want to be bothered anymore. So once they're gone, you want to, develop relationships with the people coming in. Otherwise, they're going to bring their team, their favorite firms in. So you want to stay on top of that. We have great tools and technology, AI, all that's great, but there's no substitute for human intelligence about what's happening on the ground, and then maintain strong relationships for a mutual benefit. So these are the best practices that we see, that we use and we coach, and that we witnessed in the federal marketplace as it relates to business development, which is critical. Capture management best practices, very closely related to the business development practice. And what we want to talk about here, Marie, are 6 different points. You'll see a common theme that we've talked to here with number 6, but we'll start with number 1. Have a continual loop of evaluation and adaptation. Again, cross-functional team, the information's flowing, there's an internal self-assessment. You're kind of taking inventory of where you are. And the advice here, Marie, is to be very humble, be very truthful to yourself, because you can lead yourself astray. Our ego and lack of humility can cause us to pursue opportunities. And in capture business development, we can churn a lot of dollars and have nothing to show for it. Number 2, proposal development has to be quality, has to be customer focused. Again, that's just self-said. Understand your competitive terrain. In one of the big decisions a company has to make, and leadership is a bid, no bid decision, Marie. And I just be sober on here. Throw a cold bucket of water over your head. And is this really us? Is this true to our strategic plan? Is it true to the company? And do we really have a chance to win here? What are we competing on? Is it something technical? Just on a conversation yesterday with a client pursuing something, what's the opportunity to distinguish yourself? This opportunity wasn't, so they were going through that process. So we had the mentorship protege program as well, Marie, going how come back to strategic partnerships. This was one of the big things that allowed the mentees who wanted to learn from the larger firms, or the proteges, more experienced firms, is what is the calculation into the bid, no bid decision? What are the considerations? A lot of this can be gray and nuanced. Well, how do you try to put a value around that? So competitive terrain, know that and be sober. Oral interviews. As OSBU Director, Department of Energy, get a lot of feedback. That company spent a lot of time, a lot of money. They went through the proposals, they got there, they went through the whole BD capture management process. And now this is the witching hour, right? This is the 4th quarter. You're in the oral interview, and I got a lot of feedback from contract officers and other folks that I was pushing for to get small business contracts. He said, man, these firms, some of them just would blow it. And one of the big things I put in here is customer focus. You only have 45 minutes, maybe half an hour. You have a limited, finite amount of time. They know why you're there. You got invited. They like your material. You don't need to rehash how great you are. You just need to spend 80 to 90% of the time on the customer, your innovations, and making sure you understand their challenges and try to be interactive. And you start getting head nods. You start teaching them something we shared in a previous session as well. And you just draw them out into a conversation. That's where you're headed down the right road. And again, focus on the customer. They know you. You've jumped so many hurdles just to get through the oral interviews. Don't spend any more time than you need to just introduce yourself and your team and why you're there. I've had too much feedback. folks will
Yep.
spend, you got 45 minutes. John, they spend 35 minutes talking about themselves, introducing their resumes. I was
I
like,
know,
wow.
and
Yeah.
this is such an important point, John,
Mhm.
because it, people think I have to go ahead and regurgitate this one with the oral presentations. I think people really need to understand this is this is your technical presentation and
Mhm.
how you can solve problems for the agency that you're presenting, so the buyers, the contracting officers, the technical
Mhm.
line, they've seen all of the capability statements and
Yeah.
the
Case
past
studies,
performance.
maybe.
Now,
Yeah.
like you said, we want you to come to the table and provide us a solution or give us some industry insights that we may not have even been aware of. This
Amen.
is, you know, that's that is so critical. You're continually building the relationship with
Right.
the gatekeepers, the small business
Mhm.
program offices, and now, you've got the foot in the door. And yeah, I've seen that happen too. I have seen that, at one of the large laboratories at the M&O
Yeah.
level, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, you guys were
It's
doing
like I was
so
rooting for
good.
you, and you're like, they just took the air out of the
Yeah,
of the balloon, right?
yeah,
And the
yeah,
last point I'll make, I'll say amen to you on that point, is sometimes our human nature is to fall back on what we're comfortable with. The default is
yeah.
I'm so and so, and we've earned some manner. I guess we have some successes, so we get prideful, but it's really not about us. It's about the people across the table, and you hit the nail on the head. Insights. What insights can you share from them from industry about the challenges they have in front of you, and maybe there's nuances in there. Maybe they have challenges they don't even realize. But hit the mark
And
for the RFP, and you be responsive, but
yeah.
share your insights. Um,
And
Number five is related to
oftentimes
that.
oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, John.
Go ahead. No, no, no.
I was going to say, oftentimes at the oral interview stage, it's good for the companies to bring their technical people. So then the
Mhm.
techies can talk to each other,
Right.
right, about industry standards and solutions. And I have seen that to be very successful when the BD people start to
Yeah.
pull in at this
Mhm.
stage, at the oral stage,
Right.
or even at the solution development
Mhm.
stage.
Right.
That's your next point. They start
Yep.
to bring in their technical people to say, this is how we would resolve this problem,
Right.
based on the proposal that we have, in front of us. So I'll be quiet now and let you go on.
No, no, well, no. Oop. Perfect points. Perfect points. Sorry about that. No, perfect. You just on spots there. Solution development again. It's about the whole team. Your innovations. Be practical. Um, and just be on point about your solutions and how you articulate them in an oral interview. In an oral interview, it's great to have rehearsals beforehand with the team. So you all, uh, people may not even be geographically anymore. You may not have met people in person, or maybe it's been a while. So you want to come off like you're well-oiled machine in a close-knit team. So do one or two, maybe even three rehearsals if you need, with other members from the firm, playing the contract officers or playing the client. And the last one, continue the theme from the first one, is build trusted relationships. It's about the client. You want to be thought of as a person that's a straight shooter, and you're bringing innovations to them. Even if you disagree with them sometimes, if you're right, they'll come back and know you're right, and they'll call you first next time. So that's kind of the business development, capture best practices as we think about the quality of our revenue. Is you only get so many times at bat. You got to get some hits here. You got to bring them home. You got to close the deal, especially at this point of the orals and et cetera. So those are those two. We're going to segue to the next topic here. Is emerging technology. How to use AI, generative AI, and et cetera. These other tools that are available. Um, to grow and scale your company. And so these are a couple just the applications that we will use, or I've seen other firms use in a very creative way that I think sets them apart. And again, part of these tools really helps us to do what? Limit time, be more efficient. Um, and these tools can be wrong too. So we're still responsible for the accuracy of our work, and we should still be held to standards as it relates to this. Should be our original work, original thoughts, not plagiarism. So they have to be reflective of our own experiences. But content creation, kind of straightforward. But the content that we have, it can be a great place to start. And the beauty of this is you can upload files of past performance, types of correspondence, types of content, types of marketing campaigns, whatever it is, you can sort it and it'll pick up your own voice, but you can do that as well. And ideally, this can be helpful, Marie. If we have many different people, if people have turned over in different positions, your company should have a single voice, a single culture. This tool can help. Sales forecasting, a great way to use the AI tool as well, is what is possible from a forecast and then the quality of that forecast. And that goes to point number 3, lead scoring. You can actually grade and score the opportunities. So again, you can look at your past performance going forward. So kind of that P-win percentage we think about, we can really fine tune that with our lead scoring. And this again goes back to a cross-functional team so that the whole company understands how this is being used and has input into how you're using the tool. Because with a BD person versus proposal writer versus the program manager, versus someone who's offering more technical solutions, they may have a different idea of what the ideal profile of what the lead should be or the ideal client. So again, use everybody involved. Critical one, number 4, from a profitability is upselling and cross-selling. The hardest thing is to get a customer, and once you have them, you offer great quality product, customer service, of course. But what separates program managers and companies, again, is how do you upsell the revenue and how do you go more horizontal in the organization? And so using AI as a tool to help you identify opportunities, competitive landscape, the solutions you're selecting, great opportunity. And another we don't think about a lot is fraud detection. As fraud detection within our own companies, but also maybe this is something we can just offer our customers in terms of tools. The good thing about the federal government, a lot of information is public that we can have resources we can pull through through FPDS&G, SAM.gov. There's all these proprietary tools or systems you can pull data from, prime and some subcontract data that's available as well. And so we can maybe look at areas of fraud detection that we can actually be proactive and offer the customer. So these are different ways that I've seen companies effectively use AI to grow their revenue and to offer more value to their customers. And so now we're going to segue to another topic here is how do we convert revenue to cash flow? Again, we're talking about the quality of our revenue. The first part of the conversation, we kind of gave some best practices and tips and things we see in the marketplace about growing your revenue. And here we're going to talk about revenue and converting it to cash flow, which is critical. And we're going to make an important distinction here that may be basic to some, but we see this all the time, and that gets overlooked. In this lack of attention to detail here can be a killer for businesses' growth. So it is, what is the revenue growth trap? Understand that revenue is not cash. Revenue is not cash. I'll say it one last time, revenue is not cash. I spent a significant amount of my time in the corporate reorganization and restructuring world before I had the pleasure of working for the federal government. And so I saw a lot of companies, big and small, left and right, multiple industries, underperforming and go through a reorganization, restructures, go out of business. So revenue is not cash. So we understand revenue from the accrual accounting is we recognize the revenue when it is earned, irregardless when the cash is going to come in. And so the last thing I want to say, we talk about cash and cash flow, trumps or greater than revenue. We have to understand the timing of the cash receipts versus when the cash is used to generate revenue. So oftentimes we're using cash, BD, capture, etc. There's real costs of employees' time, consultants, etc. We buy data, buy reports. It could be other things such as travel, conferences, travel downtown, travel across country, travel to a customer site, etc. All that is employees' time, but then there's additional costs on that. So we're expensing cash before the revenues even come in. We don't even know if the revenue is going to come in because, again, we don't know if we're going to win. We may not know if we're going to bid on the opportunity yet. We may not win the opportunity if we bid. So understand the revenue growth trap is that you can, as we can see here, you can be accelerating your growth and you can be growing so fast that you run out of cash because you're expending money to drive the revenue. And how often you're going to get paid? Most people want to get paid every other week or within 30 days for sure. You may be on 30. You may be on 45. A lot of large companies, Fortune 1000, a lot of companies may pay 60 days or 45. The government, you may have clients that say they'll pay 30 or every 2 weeks. But as former OSBU director, a lot of these things with, large companies not paying smaller ones will fall in my lap. Hey, John, what can you do for me? Just because you have it in writing doesn't mean they're going to pay to that. So you had other initiatives like quick pay and prompt pay, et cetera. But coming down to it, you have to understand this fundamental disconnect in your cash flow cycle. And you may say, hey, John, this is obvious. This is less than 101. This is 0.50, 0.0. Yeah, but from what I saw as OSBU director, first-hand experience in restructuring companies before, there's not a focus on the cash flow. So keep your eye on the ball on cash flow. And this is kind of the first part of this revenue growth trap is you have a revenue forecast. I need to see your cash flow forecast. That's what you need to have. So when you go in, you may show your revenue forecast to your going back to capital, but you need to have an internal cash flow forecast that you all manage and that you know to the cent. Moving to the next one here is how do you convert revenue to cash flow? Here's another item that's overlooked a lot, kind of the Achilles heel of revenue growth, the customer acquisition cost. What does it cost for you to acquire a customer? That should definitely impact your pricing to that customer. And before that, it should impact, do you even want that customer? What's the bang for the buck? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Whatever metaphor you want to use, but you're going to spend time and money pursuing and then maintaining that customer for a positive customer experience. What does that acquisition cost? And you can put time in there as well to get and maintain that customer. So what is the customer acquisition cost? It's the total marketing, sales expenses. These are, everything from the salaries, travel, either equipment, tools, maybe some industries you may have like software subscriptions to various service to track federal government spending, maybe it's your agency spending. If you're in a particular vertical or industry, you may want to join professional associations. There may be licenses that you have for that as well. There may be business groups you join. So all that's in your marketing and sales expense and, let alone travel, et cetera. And that's just divided by the number of new customers that you have. So that's your customer acquisition cost. Another way to think of it in the government, directly in the federal government context, is what's your total business development capture management cost divided by the lifetime of that contract. So I'm pursuing, you hope to be a 5-year contract. It could be a 1+4, a 1+3, where you have the base year and then you have the optional years. And so you need to understand what is that ratio, the customer acquisition cost to the lifetime of that contract. You have what we refer to, Marie, as the ultimate expiration date of that contract, which is, let's say you go through all the option years. Let's just use a 4+1. So it's a 5-year contract. Well, within that, you should understand what's my payback period on that contract, meaning at what point am I revenue positive? At what point am I receiving the ROI that I need on this contract? Because if it's option years, anything could happen. New secretaries, new Congress comes in, budget priorities happen. New administration comes in, new secretary comes in, priorities change, world events impact that. It can get squeezed or it can get expanded. And also another ratio to think about, Marie, here is the customer acquisition ratio, which is the customer lifetime value divided by the acquisition cost. So another way of thinking about this as an example is, if the customer acquisition ratio is 5-to-1, that means for every dollar spent acquiring a customer, the business makes $5 for the lifetime of that contract. So you need to get a sense. Again, there may be assumptions here. There's some nuances, but you need to, you go from direct to indirect costs. This may be a range, but you should know and have your sense of how this is calculated for your company and your business. Looking maybe last 1 to 3 years, if you've never done it before, hey, what does this look like? And if this may go into, Marie, hey, am I keeping accurate of books and records to actually track this? So these are something that you should be able to track and know. And particularly when you look at your forecast, we're talking about quality of revenue. How do you convert revenue to cash flow? You need to have your customer acquisition costs, these ratios down. And at some point, you need to decide internally where this ratio lands. You may not pursue customers, may not be profitable enough outside of this range. So that's kind of what we want to talk about here. Yep.
Excuse me, before you go
Sure.
on, a couple things. Have you ever utilized this tool with businesses with regards to reassessing keeping customers or eventually cutting them free, the customer free, as a tool for, let's say I've been with, Department of Defense, or I've been with, Department of
Right.
Energy for 5 years, and I'm kind of, looking at the market, and I'm seeing things shift perhaps
Mhm.
with regards to missile defense or NASA
Mhm.
areas that I
Mhm.
want to go in.
Mhm.
Would this be a helpful tool for business owners to assess what is my real cost of doing business with the agencies I'm in right now, based on, and I'm going to throw in another dollar value, I guess, based
Sure.
on the numbers of contracts, the dollar value of the contracts that I'm getting, and saying, yeah, this is okay to go ahead and continue with these, or no, I'm going to cut,
Mhm.
based on my CAC, or what I would call an ROI, return on my investment.
Right.
I'm going to cut the following programs out of my portfolio, and I'm going to shift over
Mhm.
here, because what I'm seeing based on historic contracts
Right.
awarded to other companies
Mhm.
and the amount of effort to get contract work from new agencies, I have a better ratio to go after, let's say, NASA or aerospace types of contracts
Right.
within the federal government. And this may be another Charlie Mike, John. I don't know. So that's kind of where my mind is going. This
Okay.
is a really cool tool, but
Right.
have you ever done that before with clients,
Mhm.
or that kind of
No,
assessment?
yeah, no, Marie, that is a great question. It's spot on. Yes, we've done it. We encourage all our clients to do that on an annual basis. And then as you're going through, annual basis just from the company wide, looking at all your opportunities. And you're right. So you get to the point where, hey, we have an opportunity. Do we want to recompete for it? And you need to understand like where you are now. You should understand have the system in place to understand your profitability and what's it going to cost me to keep that customer. And yeah, you need definitely need to consider the profitability of the opportunity, kind of this acquisition cost, this maintenance cost. And then you need to look at the contracting trends and how companies are being paid and how is this
Mhm.
recompete, what's the acquisition strategy. We'll talk a little bit about barriers to entry. Um, what type of competition do you think you'll have? Um, are there a lot of barriers to entry? Are you offering a service? Maybe it's a general staffing, admin that has a lower barrier to entry to something that's more technical, where you have
Mhm.
so that may be something to consider as well. So I think you should always look at what's the profitability that I'm gonna have to recompete for this award. Um, they're going to put it out there. They won't just sole source it to me. So I'm going to have to compete against other firms. So I'm going to go through that process again with, I may have the inside track if I'm doing well and my C powers, my evaluations have been strong, but no,
Yeah.
we have done that. And we definitely advise our customers to really look at that. You may have a situation where it's going to more like an LPTA, lowest price, technically
Techniques
acceptable,
acceptable.
and
Yeah.
that may be a run to the a run to the bottom and from a pricing standpoint, not so much on best value, focus on quality. How is the agency trending? Are they so those are things that you need to kind of keep in mind. So definitely,
Well, okay, cool.
companies should be doing that.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. And I think
Mhm.
maybe we'll talk later, Charlie, Mike, number, whichever. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, we can do a whole session on that. We'd love to do that.
Okay.
Again, how do you convert revenue to cash flow? Here we're going to talk about the cash flow conversion cycle, which focuses on just from an accounting standpoint, um, uh, days inventory, which are the inventory that you have, accounts days outstanding for accounts receivable. You sell on credit, so I make a sell to Marie today. She's gonna pay me today, or she gonna pay me in 2 weeks, a month, or Marie, even though Marie says, "Hey, we love you, Marie. Hey, John, I'll pay you in 30 days." Marie has a habit of slipping to 45-ish or history, so maybe it's 45. And then of course we're gonna back out the payables, which are the days outstanding. Which hey, we have vendors that we have to pay as well, but we're not paying them cash day one. We're going to extend them out. We have terms that are 2 weeks, 15 days, 30 days, etc. And so understanding the cash flow conversion cycle for your business, again, is critical because you want to be able to maintain your cash and keep a firm handle on that and be able to forecast that forward. Because obviously we have payroll talent we want to keep, which is hard. And so we want to have a firm track of our cash flow cycle and how we convert our cash flow as well. So another tool to use, ratios, to really keep in mind as we're expanding our revenue. We want the lower the cash flow conversion cycle ratios numbers, the better. That means when we make a sale, we're getting our cash in quicker. And so that is something else to consider when we pursue a customer or client. How do they pay? Where, not only is it margins, but how quickly can we get the cash? And so now we're going to talk about quality of revenue specifically. Is it repeatable, diversification, and is it sustainable? And we have here through thick and thin. We're CEOs, we're entrepreneurs. Some markets are better than others. We're going to go through some valleys and through some peaks. So we need to make sure that our revenue, the quality is there to sustain us when a little bit of a valley or lull, and so we can maximize the revenue when there's a peak, when the business cycle and climate is at its best. And so the thick or thin. So number one, is it repeatable? We talked a little bit, foreshadowed about what are the competitive barriers to entry. What are the barriers to entry to your client, to your business, level of competition? What do you offer your client that they can't get someplace else? And helping them realize that too. Sometimes we think about, our good work will speak for ourselves, and that's true. But you want to make sure that they know the good work you're doing and how you're better than the competition. Is it repeatable? Quality of deliverables? Are you exceeding the customer's expectation? Are you giving them what to ask? Or are you bringing new ideas, industry insights, innovations to them that that they're teaching and learning from you, that helps develop the bond and develops a sense of loyalty from them as well? And what's that customer experience? How do they feel from a service standpoint? Are they feeling important? They should feel like they are your only and best customer. You could have 50 or 100, but Marie should feel like she's your only and your best customer at all times. Quality of revenue, is it diversified? So here we're going to talk about customer concentration. You do not want to have too much, I think for fairly obvious reasons, of your revenue concentrated in single customer or single contracts. And again, I would say no customer should be 15 or 20% of your revenue. 20 is high. I say 15% of your revenue. If you can get it down to 10, that's great, or less. But you want to keep a diversified customer foundation and footing. Somebody leaves, a customer falls off, they wake up tomorrow, they think, you're the worst person in the world. You may lose that customer, great, but you still have other ones, and you still have a full pipeline. Multiple revenue streams. So you may have multiple customers, but how does your business make money? Is it staffing where you have people? Do you have software? Do you have products that you can sell? If so, do they have a subscription-based revenue? What are other ways, the multiple revenue streams that you have for your company? So that as some streams may get stretched from time to time, you still have additional revenue streams. And by the way, footnote here, if you're looking to at some point exit your business, having multiple revenue streams and a low customer concentration risk will really juice the valuation of your company as well. So something to think about as you look to exit your business. And business independence, meaning your customers don't think that they have leverage over you because they know, hey, I've got half your revenue, so I will treat you like the in-house lawyer, the in-house staff. I'll call you in the weekend or whatever. I'll just abuse your calendar and schedule because I can, and I know I can. So some people are that way. That's not, I don't per se agree with that, but some people are that way. So how you defend that, maintain leverage over your customer, is they're one of many customers and you have multiple revenue streams. So you always have leverage from a negotiation standpoint. The price is the price. If you don't like it, go someplace else. Or maybe they go someplace else, but hey, you have the leverage to say that and do that. And you can drive more of the pricing and or the value where you want to. You can have the price you want, but hey, here's what I want in return. So leverage becomes evenly yoked there. And so obviously you want to keep the customer, but you're not dependent upon them, and they can't dictate to you the terms of everything. At some point you say, enough. You don't like the deal I'm walking, just drop the pencil and just leave and go on to the next one. guess what? You'll sleep a lot better. Your life will be stress-free. Your blood pressure will drop. Sustainability. So here we're going to talk about you have customers. Are they sustainable customers for you and your business model? I'm going to frustrate some people, Marie, with a great consulting answer. It depends. It
I
depends.
love it.
It depends on you as a business. Number one, is it a profitable customer? And I'll be bold here, Maria. I don't care if it's a signature customer in your industry. Are they profitable? Are you making money? What's your ROI? So you can pay yourself, your team, but you can have some money to actually reinvest back in your company. And look, we're CEOs of our business. We've taken a lot of risks. We want to have some of that money for ourselves too. So are they a profitable customer? Understand that. Um, Understand your from your customer, their cash flow, their ROI. Harken back a little bit earlier part of the conversation.
Yeah.
What's your return for maintaining and keeping this customer? Do you want to keep them? Tracking your cash flow. That may impact your pricing or the way you deliver your services if you are expending an extraordinary amount of cash to deliver the service and they're taking a good old sweet time to pay you. So you need to think about that. Um, and sustainability, really developing um, deep relationships in the customer, meaning that your point of contacts can change. People retire, they go do something else, go to a new different company. So what is your value shouldn't be just that POC. You should get in there and develop a relationship with the company. So you're adding value to the company, become a known commodity and a strategic partner where they need you. Hey, we can't go to market without Marie supplying us this product or service. She has to be right there with us. And so, not just if your point of contact, the program manager, the person you're dealing with there, someone else is there. So, the idea of this through quality of revenue, through thick and thin, is it repeatable, diversified, and is it sustainable? So, we're speaking about everything from the margins, profitability, barriers to entry, and putting you in the driver's seat and in control of having a diversified revenue streams and customer base. And quality of revenue, things to think about, considerations, Marie. Are you a prime or subcontractor? What's your strategy? There's risks and opportunities either way, but think about that. Give that some consideration. And in this one, we'll put a footnote. Make sure you get great legal counsel to help you think this through about the art of what's possible and know your rights relate to the FAR and every agency's FAR supplement as well. In today's environment, you can't go to business without a category management strategy. How you're great, you do all this job selling, networking, building relationships, but the most important thing is how can that customer spend money with you and your firm? You have to have a well-oiled, sophisticated category management strategy. Be on top of that, best-in-class vehicles, and know the vehicles that your company uses. And again, this is about efficiency, irrespective of what can happen with socioeconomic statuses. The government wants to be more effective and efficient. It's easy to say, hey, I need 3 firms. I'll pull them off the schedule. There you go. And so from their standpoint, source of salt's already done because you're on the schedule. You've got a T&C, terms and conditions. Pricing is already set with the government. There's always room for some negotiation there, but hey, you're pretty much set there. So have a category manager strategy. And if you're not on a category manager vehicle, you need to get on one, at least at a vehicle that your target agencies use. And how do I find the culture in your financial statements? We talk about culture, values within our company. We know that what can really differentiate us in the marketplace, Marie, is the talent. Is the talent of our people. How do we acquire? Most importantly, how do we maintain them? If you've got good people, somebody knows that they're trying to poach them. Don't let them pay them a couple of cents more and they go someplace else. So this is just as much of how much you're paying in compensation, but what's important to people is the culture, the environment. Do they feel wanted? Do they feel respected? Are they part of the team? A lot of their level of professional satisfaction can keep their bottom in the seat of your company and not let someone poach them that easily. So something else to consider there. And then I think one of the last points we'll make here, all revenue is not good revenue for you. I've talked to any number of firms that have turned away work because, hey, we were growing and scaling. Some of these dollars weren't in our core NAICS codes or services, but hey, they're doing a great job. Marie, you're doing quality worker service. A fire happens, someone needs to put out a fire, the contract officer calls Marie. Hey, you're doing a great job over here. Why don't you just handle this for you? I know you can do the work. We'll kind of make it work. We'll slide the paper. This is your contract if you want it. You have to understand that revenue may not be good for you from a federal government standpoint. What is your NAICS code? What's your size standard? The look back period has went from 3 to 5 recently, but there's still a look back period. And so as you're growing and scaling, where do you want to spend your dollars before you go out of your cap and become no longer small? The second thing I've heard, I went to a conference one time. It was at the National Federal Small Business Coalition Conference in Norfolk, actually. I think it was a Marriott there. I was speaking, and the gentleman, I was talking about this kind of topic and related matters. And the gentleman said his hand, said, John, I'm not looking for any new business. We're gonna our way that we sustain ourselves. We decided we can't compete any other than smaller, full and open market against. Because once you graduate, of course, you're out there competing against the Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 companies. We're going to stay small. I'm just here, literally, guys said, I'm not here for any new business. I'm here to maintain relationship at the conference. Maintain relationships, see people, make some good connections, keep building those trusted relationships, be visible, be present. But next year, I'm gonna be all about revenue growth. Here, we're just treading water and maintaining. So had that happen down in Norfolk. It's all, again, we want to optimize profitability and cash flow. Just enough said. So how is this revenue going to do that? How is it going to meet your model and level of return you need to have? And don't be afraid to say no. We can't be all things to all people all the time, to all your customers. There's nothing wrong with saying no. That's going back to one of the earlier sessions about the strategic plan and the strategy. We want a 1 and 3 year growth plan that's intentional, focused. That doesn't mean you don't consider things. And hey, if the market, many customers are pinging you for another type of service, that's a good thing. All those things should cause you to pause and think, I see myself going to the market a certain way. Maybe my customers see the additional value I can bring. So have those conversations and reflective thoughts and moments and make a decision to pursue it or not. But we can't be all things to all people. So that's what we wanted to share today, Marie, as it relates to the quality of your revenue. Focused on, again, we want to grow the revenue at first, couple best practices related to strategic partnerships, business development, oral interviews, capture management. But then we talked about the revenue growth traps of understanding your customer acquisition costs, understanding that revenue is not cash. Cash is cash. And then we ended with the quality of the revenue again. Is it repeatable, diversified, and sustainable? So
Right.
Thank you, Marie, for this time. We really appreciate it. It's an exciting topic.
This has been amazing. My mind is going a mile a minute here, especially with the ratios and the analytics and how to really, assess, do I keep, do I dump, how do I diversify my portfolio? I'm going to say of
Right.
my client base.
Yes.
And so I know that this is going to be very well received in the community. I'm excited to get this out on our Charlie Mike, and I do.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, everybody, I'm going to ask live on the recording. John, I would love to have you do another session on the ratios, really kind of perhaps
Sure. Yeah,
talking about, when we can talk about that later. So
no, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. And a couple potential companies come to mind that maybe they wouldn't mind to share how they calculate, work through some of these things. But yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, cool. And with that, everyone, I'm going to call this a wrap, but this is not the last that we have heard from John. So we have one more in our series of 5. So stay tuned. And I look forward to seeing you again, John, and everyone.
Definitely.
Ciao for now. And
Yep. Thank you.